Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. So in this video we are going to continue our Three.js stuff and we're gonna talk about environment map. As you can see here right now I have this scene and I have my orbit controls. So if I kind of like drag around, you can see like in the background I have my texture that we'll talk about how you can achieve this, but we're gonna kind of like take it to the next level and we're gonna have something like a three-layered universe or whatever you want to call it. And what I mean by that is right now you can see like I have this sphere geometry, as you might have guessed, with like a texture on it, and then as I zoom in I'll go inside that, and then now I have another level that I go in, and now I'm inside another kind of like scene, not scene necessarily, another environment. And then I have also a 3D model here loaded. We'll talk about all these steps, how we can do this. So this is gonna be like what we will be working on. Again, take a quick look. All right, let's get started. Okay, so I have my starter code here. As always, we are using the Webpack boilerplate that I've always used. Everything, the JavaScript stuff is under the app folder, and under this canvas 3.js index.js file, this is where we've been adding all our 3.js related stuff. Again, here I have my basic setup. I have my canvas, I have my scene, and then camera, and then renderer, and nothing special, things that we've done before. My update function, which is basically the request animation frame, which is coming from this index.js directly under app folder. And then also I have my resize event, and these destroy functions basically get rid of all the 3.js objects and materials, everything once we navigate away from a page. So that's the basic setup. I've already done npm install, and then I did npm start on port 3000 under the 3.js endpoint. You should see this right now. It's just like a simple text and this dark background for our scene. So now we're gonna start adding our environment and like all the things that I showed you at the beginning of this video. So for our 3D model, the cat, I'm gonna be using this cat 3D model from free3d.com. I'll put the links to all these websites that I'm going to show you throughout this video, and also a link to the final repo of this video on GitHub. So don't worry about that, everything will be down in the description box below this video. So over here I have this 3D model. You can download it. This is gonna be in OBJ format, but eventually we want to have GLB, and to do that you can basically import it in Blender and then export it as GLB. When you do it in Blender, you might want to also make sure that the rotation of the object is what you want, and make sure it's kind of like around the center of the scene. All those things, make sure those are also fine. And I'll put a link on this top right corner to a video that I explain all these things, so go ahead and check that out. All we need to have is like basically a GLB file with this 3D model. And over here under static folder, I do have a models folder right now, and this cat.glb is the GLB file that I exported from Blender. And you could have like basically found a 3D model that is in GLB format, and then you wouldn't need to go through all this process. But it's always good to open it in Blender and see if the orientation, the rotation, like everything looks good to you. And then you don't need to do much in Three.js, like adding a position to the object or like rotate it in Three.js. It would be much easier if you do it in Blender, and then here in Three.js you just import it. That's simple. Okay, so now I have this GLB file, and in Blender when I was exporting it, I also checked the compression box, meaning that I need to use Draco loader, and I have that also here. Again, I have explained all these things in the other video that I put the link, and you can go ahead and check that out. Alright, so two things we need to import here. One is GLTF loader, and then we have Draco loader. Inside my constructor here, I'm going to add a function, and then basically call a function here. And right after my constructor, I'm going to define that function, and basically this setup scene is going to take care of loading our models and textures and everything. So what you see here right now is I have a GLTF loader, and then I'm adding my Draco loader, setting the Draco path here, which is right under static. So for this boilerplate that I have here, this is like a Webpack boilerplate, as I mentioned. Everything will be moved into the public folder over here, so you don't need to like do static-Draco or public-Draco, but in your file structure, in your folder structure, in your project, you gotta make sure that this is correctly pointing to the Draco folder that you have here. And then lastly, we're just basically loading the model, which was cat.glb under our models folder, and just making sure to add the gltf.scene to our actual scene in Three.js. So this is the whole thing, and then let's save it right now here, and then let's go to our Three.js scene over here. You should see your cat right now. It's like really back here, just this little black dot, and the reason is that because I have this camera at like 1400 and the Z, so it's really far from the cat, which is in the center of the scene. We'll talk about it in a little bit why I have set this like this, but for now we can make sure that it's there. And I'm going to also add some light, because right now it's kind of like just dark, there is no dark lights there. So let's add lights, and this is just gonna be like a simple ambient light, and make sure to add that to the scene. I will also bring in orbit control over here, because I want to make sure that I can rotate, like drag and see different parts of the scene. So let's do that, and then inside my constructor I am adding the orbit control here. So that should be good. If I save it, now I can zoom in and out as well, so we can make sure that I can see the cat. So it's like probably way in there. Yeah, so I'm like zooming in and rotating, so it's there. We can see it, and it's all working fine. And the next step for us is to add the environment map to our scene, and to do that there are multiple ways to do that. We're gonna use cube texture loader, because imagine like you will have like a cube which has 6 sides, and everything will be enclosed basically inside that cube. So as you can see here, for this to work, we need 6 images, which each image will basically be on one side of the cube. And you can Google and try to find some environment textures. What I have here on this website is basically some images that we can use for our purpose in this video. As you can see here, like everything is like in 6 sections. You can see this is like unwrapped kinda. If you just wrap it, it's gonna be a cube. I am going to use this one right here, Yokohama, Japan, and all you need to do is to just download the zip file, and then when you unzip it, you will have a folder called like exactly that, Yokohama, the city's name, and then inside there you will have 6 JPG files, and this is exactly what we want. Even the naming of these is gonna be really similar to what they have in their documentation over here. So if you scroll down a little bit, for this load function over here, we need an array of 6 URLs to images, 1 for each side of the cube, as I mentioned. And then the URLs should be specified in this following order: position, positive X, negative X, and then same for Y and Z. So like we have X and Y coordinates, axis basically, and then we want to have like the top surface of the cube, then the bottom surface, that would be like positive and negative Y, and then like we have X over, and then like Z inside and outside the screen kinda. So as I said, these are actually named the way you want. Like it's very simple now, because what we need to do, if you just like bring over this code, which I'm going to do inside my setup scene over here, I'm going to add an outer environment map. If you remember from the intro section, the beginning of this video, we have like an outside environment map, and then we have like the earth, and then the next layer. So for the outside, we're using environment map, and I have all these 6 images here again, the same order that they mention here, for x-axis positive and negative, and same for y and z. And then you will need to make sure that this is the encoding on this is set to sRGB encoding, and then all you need to do is to set the background and environment for your scene to that cube texture loader, basically the 6 textures that you load on your scene. So I'm gonna save it, and let's take a quick look over here. So as you can see here, now I have my environment map, all the textures. So if I drag around, you can see that basically that's what we have here. And then our 3D model also is right there, so I can like zoom in and out. If you zoom in, you can see it's right there. So that's also no problem. This is the first step. We have the environment map right now. The next step is to add the like little earth, and then we'll add the 3rd layer. For the earth layer, we're gonna use this texture right here. So you can go to that link again in the description box below this video. You can find this link, click on this image, and it's gonna download a JPEG file for you. I have placed it on under my textures over here, earthmap1k.jpg. That's exactly what you get. from there. And we've done this before. Again, in one of my videos I've explained these. I'll put a link to that video also on top right corner here, so make sure to go check that out as well. It's about how to adding image textures to your objects, and it's basically simply you're going to use texture loader to load the texture, the image JPEG file that you have. And then for this I'm gonna use a sphere geometry. So my geometry is gonna be a sphere geometry. Then my material is gonna be a mesh basic material that I will be using this JPG file as my map. And then for the side, we'll use double side. It means that basically from both inside and outside this sphere, I can see this earth image there. And the other options are like front and back side, which we'll see in the next one, that we will be only using, I believe, back side. Yeah. Anyways, this is going to be our mesh. Then we combine the geometry and material, and then don't forget to add it to the scene. So once I add that, and again, these like the sphere radius and like the camera Z, all these kind of like I've tested multiple values, and then also like this far and near values, near and far values. Just test the different numbers there, and these are what I've found that are like most suitable for the case that I have here. So again, that's on you to find the right numbers for your case. Over here I have this earth added now, so that's the first layer. If I zoom in, then there is my cat over here, so that's also fine. And the next step is to add that level where we had like another kind of like a harbor environment. So we're gonna do that, and to do that I'm gonna use again another texture, image texture, similar to what we did with the sphere and the earth image. I found the image that I'm about to use in this website. You can go check that out. I believe it was under outdoor, and it was free to download also. It's called harbor.jpg. You can find it in the repo that I basically will post the link to the GitHub repo in the description box below this video, so you can get all these in the repo as well if you want to follow exactly what I have. And so here again, very similar to what we did over here, we're gonna add another one, and this one is gonna be like our third layer inner environment. Again, I'm using this harbor image, which is kind of like this. And then what I'm doing this time, I have a smaller sphere. See, like 640 versus 40. And again, these are just the numbers that I've tested, similar to the previous one. I'm doing the material here, and this time I'm doing backside only. So when you're like zooming in, you can actually see what's inside it from outside, but when you go inside it, you can't see the outside. So that's what it means. If you do front side, it means you can't see inside it, but when you go inside, you can see outside. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, just like test those other options and you'll see it. And then just simply creating another sphere, and don't forget to add it to the scene. So I'm gonna save it here. This is gonna be our third layer, which will be our last year layer that we had. And so over here, and we still can like look at it, zoom out, and like have our environment and map over there. Then if I zoom in, I go inside the earth, And like I said, since we did backside, you can see inside from out, but if I go inside now, all I can see is the third layer, which was my harbor, and then this 3D model as well. The reason I included in this 3D model is because I just wanted to let you guys know that these things you can do. Obviously, this is not a production ready product right now. You would need to make sure that what you're trying to do is actually something like, for example, for this, you can change the Y value to make sure it kind of sits on this floor over here. So those kind of things. This is just a tutorial. I'm showing you how to do things, not necessarily this is like the perfect scenario. Not at all. Just hopefully it's kind of like can give you some ideas as well. So again, this is done. This is what we wanted to do. We used an environment map for our like very outer layer, and then we used texture and texture loaders for these two next like two levels. And this is like something that you might be able to use in your project. So depending on what you're doing, the idea obviously can be different. Okay, so that's about it. Thanks a lot for watching this video. One thing I want to mention is that I have started actually focusing on my Twitter account as well, just like literally a couple days ago. So make sure to go check that out. I'll be posting stuff on my Twitter account as well. I'll put a link in the description box below this video. Please go and check it out. And if I have any big news, if I have any announcements, new courses, things like that, I will definitely mention those in my Twitter account. So go check that out, follow me, and also if you have any questions, just either post it below this video, or you can go to Late Night Coders Club. There are ways you can reach out through that website also. And then if you like this video, please make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn the notification bell on. Thank you a lot, and I'll see you guys soon.